Welcome everyone. Welcome to the launch of Potjie Pot Poems. We're very excited to have you here today. My name, as just a little bit of an intro, my name's Alison and I work for Imagnary House. Imagnary House is a publishing house that specializes in children's books as well as young adults books in science fiction and fantasy. But the biggest thing that we hear and we feel very honored to be doing today is launching Potjie Pot Poems by Liza and illustrated by Shannan. And just a little bit of ground rules because virtual is always a little bit different to in person, obviously. But I can't see your hands being raised for questions, but we really do want to welcome questions. So if you do have questions, please pop them in the comments and we'll make sure to ask them in the Q&A. And a little bit of just how today's going to work. We're going to hear the lovely poems from Liza herself and her daughter Lucy, which is going to be fantastic. And we're going to hear from 4 of the poems. The book itself is 80 pages, and in those 80 pages, there are 30 different wonderful poems. So Potjie Pot Poems is an anthology of laugh out loud poems, and they are stunningly illustrated with scenes that hopefully most of you will be able to connect to, especially being South African. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Liza to take us through the poems. Let me just quickly share my screen so you can see the lovely poems yourself. Here you go.
Thank you, Alison. And before I get going with the poems, I'd like to say thank you so much for organizing this launch for me online. I could never have done that on my own. So thank you for holding my hand on this one. And thank you very much to everybody else who's also taken time on Saturday morning to find out more about my debut book, Potjie Pot Poems. I'm very excited about it, and we'll go into some of the ins and outs later. Just about me, I'm a mum of 3 lovely kids, Hannah, Lucy and Liam. And I used to be an engineer actually, and then gave that up a bit to raise the kids. I've been driving mom's taxi for years and years, and have just written my first book. I don't really call myself an author yet. I'm more of an Imagineer, which is a morph of an engineer who now does fun things for kids. So should we hit it off with the first poem? My first poem is called Potjie Pot Prattle. It's the first one in the book and it's full of just South Africanisms. Potjie Pot Prattle. Welcome to Mzansi. That means way down south, where just to say hello, you need an acrobatic mouth. In my land of 11 lingos, full of complicated clicks, it's a linguistic labyrinth of tongue-twisting tricks. All of us in the melting pot, from Cape to Kyalami, are bound as one by Sappho code, from the Tsotsi to the Lani. If our mumbo-jumbo jargon all sounds gibberish to you, for any standard greeting, simply, how's it, will do. My friend is called Chomi, you're my China, or my bra. If I want to answer with a yes, I say yebo or ya. Yo, I use if I'm surprised, and ish when things go wrong. When something good, it's lekker, like our boka and biltong. We stock up at the spaza for Lucky Star and Rama. Pap and Wors is best, of course, right at the Shisinyama. Walkie-talkies, strips and chips, rotis and bunny chow. Patience is a virtue in the land of the now. If it's taking time to talk out tall, if you're finding it's a battle, keep in mind that a great big smile is part of our Potjie Pot Prattle. Okay, let's see what other one we can read. Liam, come and tell us quickly. Come, Liam. I want to show you who inspired the next poem. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello, Liam. So tell us, did you come up with the name for this poem or the concept?
Say, I thought of the idea.
I thought of the idea.
Bye.
It's a very cool idea.
So now introduce you to Lucy, who's going to read Liam's poem, Baked Beans for the Win. Come, Lily.
Hello.
Hello, Lucy. Welcome. We're very excited to hear from you.
Hey, go for it.
Okay. Baked Beans for the Win by my mum. Last week at the gala, I cruised to victory. Nobody expected it. No, not even me. My dives are pretty average. My strokes are rather slow. But after baked beans for breakfast, man, you should see me go. At about the halfway mark, I switched to turbocharge and hoped it was only gas that my bottom would discharge. All at once, I pulled ahead, forgot my slow coach troubles, while the cheering crowd marveled as the pool filled up with bubbles. It really doesn't matter if they from Willie's or the Spa. Ask your mum to buy you some. You'll see, you'll win by far. Don't eat too much like me last year. My favorite brand is Coup. I missed the race entirely because I couldn't get off the loo.
That's amazing. Thank you, Lucy.
Now, my next one I'm going to share with you from the book is written all about me and actually all about every single mom who has to get her kids ready for school in the morning. When I first read the poem to my kids, they said, "Mom, that's about you." I'm not proud of everything in the poem, but let's go. I'm sure all the moms will recognize this is them too. Morning momster. I bet if you're a school kid, you have this problem too. Your mom becomes a monster right in front of you. Yep, I know you understand. It happens almost every day, but only on the school runs from Monday to Friday. Mornings start off calm enough. Mom's all chipper and upbeat. But as the clock keeps ticking, she starts turning up the heat. All at once, her voice is shrill. She's trying not to scream. Her face is red. She breaks a sweat, and her ears start to steam. An assortment of expletives escape her lipstick mouth. That's when you snap to it, because things are going south. She becomes a temper twister, a human hurricane. In the eye of the superstorm, you feel like she's insane. And then, wouldn't you believe it, a miracle to behold, we turn up at the drop-off, where she's friendly and controlled. She waves and smiles at other moms, stops to chat, overshares. The bell goes, now we're late, but she keeps chatting up the stairs, chitter-chatter all the way until the classroom door, where she spots the flustered teacher and her chance to natter more. This is a plea to moms worldwide. Let's try to meet halfway. You ease up on monster mode and we'll be on time, okay?
I love that. That's such I definitely, that was one of the poems that when we were putting it together, I had such a good laugh to, because I'm not sure if my mom's listening to this, but I remember this very clearly as a child. The morning monster is a thing.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, and thank you to Lucy as well. That was fantastic. And yeah, it's so nice to just see your kids being involved in this process as well. They often say that when you write from experience, that's when the true stories come alive. So that's really great. This is actually
what she wants to read to us. Do you want to come, Liv? Come on. What's this one called?
This one is called Tooth Mouse Moolah.
Ooh.
The Tooth Mouse. I have a bone to pick with you. I was thrilled with my money until my friend's tooth fell out too. There's nothing wrong with 20 rand. Loot like that is rare. But giving Tembi 50 bucks? Now tell me how that's fair. My mom jumped into your defense. I can't quite work out why. All sorts of lame excuses, but none of them will fly. So I'm giving you this chance to make it right with me. I'll expect my 30 rand real soon, either cash or EFT. I may not seem such a threat. I'm not much more than 5, but I'm worth taking note of if your business is to thrive. See, I still have lots of teeth to lose. That's a hoard of ivory, and you wouldn't want me signing up with your rival, the Tooth Fairy.
That was so good. I want to clap. I want a round of applause there. That was really good. Thank you, Lucy. I think you may have a career in performing poetry. Good thing that your mom writes so much poetry.
I think they all pretty tired of poems after the last one.
No, well, that's amazing. I just realized I would also like to just quickly introduce Shannan, who's on the call. So Shannan, these beautiful poems are written by Liza and inspired by her kids. But yeah, they were brought to life through Shannan's wonderful illustrations. So Shannan, I'd just like you to quickly introduce yourself before I go on.
Cool. What can I say? Illustration is one of my passions because you just get to doodle all day. I mean, I doodled from when I was in school, and I don't know if anybody's mentioned this, but Liza and I were in high school together. So it's long friendship. Where was I? My goodness, I've gone blank.
You're saying that you love to illustrate, but it's not necessarily your full time.
Yes. You see, that's what illustrators do. They go blank because of that blank piece of paper. You know, you got to start from But my industry is actually the film world. So I work for agencies and film companies doing character animation. So illustration is such a wonderful release because it's not controlled. You know, it's quite free, and particularly these stories. I think that's what's been such a pleasure, is Liza's stories are so freeing, and also some real naughty ones. So it's a really lovely thing.
No, well, that's great. And it's nice to hear as well, just for all the listeners here. I think there's this idea that you have to have studied illustration, or you have to be in the illustration career path, but anyone can illustrate. And I'd like to just encourage you, if that's something that you love doing and you're listening now, just give it a go and try it out. And Shannan's a great example of that. And Shannan, just a quick question on that, just since you've just mentioned it. Do you find that when you saw Liza's wonderful poems, that it was quite easy to come up with these different illustrations? And yeah, how did you do that?
I suppose, you know, when you read something, you start living it, and you kind of get into the feeling, and then you just start drawing. I think if you overthink something, you lose the chance of a chance drawing, if you know what I mean. Like if you just start drawing and you work it out as you go, and the drawing sort of emerges from the paper. You know, it's a lovely feeling. And then when you do it, sometimes you need to kind of go, okay, that hasn't really worked, let's start again, or let's try a different concept. Or, you know, every drawing has a different feeling.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think just even some of these illustrations, they just are so wonderful. And I'm just looking through quickly. What's also wonderful is in the book, Liza's got some poems that are specific to lockdown. So I'm not sure if you remember the rainbows, but here's a lovely illustration of bringing that to life. And yeah, it's really wonderful. There's also the poem about the dinosaur, about the granddad, and this as well. I just loved it. There were so many poems throughout that I found myself going, oh yes, my granddad did that, or yeah, someone in my, here even the grade 1 jitters. We all know that's very real. And look at this lovely illustration. Yeah, and just some questions for you, Liza. You mentioned that you did engineering before going into this. So what inspired, other than your kids, what have you always liked writing? What made you go into writing poetry?
Well, actually in matric, at the end of matric, my teachers heard that I'd signed up for engineering at Stellenbosch, and they kept on calling me back into the office and saying, we don't think this is where you should be heading. You should be heading to Rhodes to do writing. And I thought, no ways, Engineering sounds way fancier than that. I'm off to do engineering. My time in Stellenbosch, I never really loved engineering, although I could do it, but it was never like a passion for me. And I just did it for the salary, really. And then, you know, when I had kids, I stopped being an engineer, and then I had time to find out about other things I like and explore those. And always those teachers in the background, you know, you should be writing, you should be writing. And then
teachers are inspiring.
Well, then my kids reached school age, and they had to do poems for school, and they gave you the whole lot of poems, but they weren't like poems that resonated with them. So I asked the teacher if I could write our own poem about the headmaster's dog, and I did that. And then the teachers thereafter asked me every year to please churn out about 10 poems for various classes and individual performances. And so they did nudge me. I never just sat down and wrote a poem, ever. You know, so they nudged me into it. And then eventually I had this collection of 30 poems and put it into a book. So yeah, I never had that light bulb moment when I thought, right, now I'm going to write poems. It just sort of morphed, you know. So yeah. I feel very lucky that it happened.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think you mentioned something really great there. If a poem's relatable, that's when kids get stuck into it. And that's why I also loved Potjie Pot Poems, because there's just so many poems in there that I did have literally that laugh out loud moment, because I understood it. I was there. I was in that situation. So yeah, on that note, are any of these poems based on true stories? And can you share any of those funny stories?
Of course, they are all real stories, actually. Well, most of them. For instance, Liza Seele. It's all about lice in the school, and then the kids are so happy because they have to go home because the whole school is shut down. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but literally, you know the drill as a parent. The schools become infested with lice, even the best schools, you know, and everybody starts getting maybe pointing fingers on the mom's WhatsApp groups, and it gets a bit hectic sometimes. So like, yeah, and then the baked beans for the wind poem, you know, Liam said to me the day before the gala, he said, Mum, can we have baked beans for breakfast? And I said, you don't really like baked beans, but yeah. And I said, why? And he said, well, because he wants a bit of vuma in the pool. And we all that's and then of course Zoom Granny, which many of you would have seen shared on Facebook and Instagram. That's about grannies trying to navigate this whole new tech situation, calls, video calls, and it's also exaggerated. I mean, we never saw our granny in her bra and panties on the Zoom chat, but yeah, the bits are actually all real, you know.
Yeah,
so no, that's for me to think of ideas.
Here's the Zoom Granny illustration as well. Which is that's really great, and I guess that's also something, if you are a writer and if you are wanting to write some poetry, look around you, see what inspires you, like your story. Is there something happening at school that you'd like to write a story about? Yeah, there's lots of inspiration. We just need to look up. So yeah, let me one other thing on that note of writing poetry, I want to just announce a little bit of a competition, and we'll also be posting about it on our social pages. But we would really love to hear some of your stories and some of your poems. And so we would like to invite you to send those poems to us, and we'll post in the comments the email address. It's hello@imaginaryhouse.com. And if you win, you'll be able to get a signed copy of Potjie Pot Poems, along with, and Shannan has offered this very generously, digital illustration of your poem. How magical is that? Thank you, Shannan, for that. And yeah, so we would love to hear your poems, and yeah, let's make poetry cool again. I just want to quickly read the back blurb because it just is all about no boring poems. But if this resonates with you, I advise that you go either onto Imaginary House's page to purchase a book, or you can go to any major book chain and get the book. If they don't get it, tell them to get it. This is where we ask you to also support local authors and local publishing houses. So here's just a quick read. So poems to read and to perform, rhymes in every shape and form, for kids, teachers, schools alike who have joined the Mzansi textbook strike. It's time to march and then toy for every girl and every boy who's had to sit at school and suffer one dreary poem after another. Bring back poems that hit the spot, like these from the South African melting pot. We demand a brand new rule. No boring poems allowed at school. So if that resonates with you, Potjie Pot Poems is the book for you. And just to finish off, I'm going to share the screen once more, and we will hear the final poem and then be signing off. Okay. Toothmouth Moolah.
I think Lucy's already read the Toothmouth Moolah.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I can read another one. How about that?
Yes, actually.
A quick one for you. It's very rude and it should not be used to at any drama festivals, please. It's called it's called Chatty Bottom. My teacher's bottom likes to chat. You'll wonder how I know that. Well, his pants were split when it said, "How's it?" in a language that was obviously polecat.
That's amazing. Thank you. Sorry, I just, the comments have just come through now as well of just some other questions. So I actually do have a few other questions for you. I've got a question here. Are there more books coming, Liza?
Yes, and we started Shannan and I've got something up our sleeve already. And I've got first few poems finished actually for this one, and I think I'm going to call it Vuvuzela Verses. So that'll be out. Yeah, that'll be out by the end of the year.
Oh, fantastic. And then I've got a question for Shannan. What kind of films and shows have you worked on? Anything exciting?
Yeah, I've worked on some of the BBC Christmas specials of the Gruffalo and Highway Rat and all those cute stuff that are up in England. I don't think we get much of it down here. I think you can see them on Showmax and stuff. I do a variety of stuff, but those are the cute ones worth showing off. Yeah, those are the cute ones.
Awesome.
Roald Dahl, Revolting Rhymes.
Amazing.
Yeah, those are not small titles. That's really incredible.
Cool.
And then another question for you, Shannan. So what inspired the Potjie Pot illustrations, and were there any books in particular, or not necessarily books, but other illustrators that inspired you?
Oh, absolutely. It should be kind of clear that there's definitely an inspiration from Quentin Blake. He is just my idol. I absolutely love his work. And when Liza was like, I'm going to do this book, and I wouldn't mind something on the lines of the energy of this and this, I was just like, that's the one, Quentin Blake, let's go. It's so expressive, and it gets that kind of like childlike mannerism so much better than just controlled illustration, because you can go in so many varieties, there's so many different ways you can draw.
Yeah.
Quentin Blake just gets all the cheekiness, and especially for stories with lots of burps and farting.
I love that. And then Liza, this is for you. Can we get copies in the UK?
Yes, you won't believe it, but so many people from all around the world, all the South Africans living all over the place, are actually some of my best customers, it seems, because everybody's asking. I wrote the book for teachers at schools and things like that, but now I'm having all these people all over the world asking for Potjie Pot poems, and I'm really happy and grateful about that. So I'm busy updating my website. It'll be ready on Monday to take international buyers. So yes, I'm afraid postage is a bit expensive, but it can be done, and it's going to happen from Monday.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're getting just, this is wonderful, just even more questions coming in. But here's another one for you, Liza. Why do you think it's important to capture South African stories for children?
Well, because we look at everything American and English, you know, our TV programs are from overseas, the books in our bookstores are, you know, mainly from overseas. And we've got great authors, we've got great stories, and we've got, you know, in that melting pot, that is the Potjie Pot, there's so much stuff in there. And why shouldn't we be proud of our stories? Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I back that completely. And I think also just from our side at Imaginary House, the thing that's so inspiring to see is that we really do have so much talent within South Africa. And it's great to be inspired by international authors and illustrators, but I would encourage you to just look to your neighbors, look in the South African market. Like there's so much talent. Yeah, and I've got a comment from Patsy Hudson. She says, "Well done, Liza and Lulu." So that's just a pun to you guys. And yeah, I think that's all the questions for today. But thank you so much for joining, and thank you everyone that is streaming in. You really do make a difference just in supporting local, in publishing house, author and illustrator. It's felt. So thank you so much. And yeah, we're excited to see this book spread around. Spread the word, tell your friends.
Yeah, race off to your nearest bookshop and demand why they still have boring poems for school.
Yes, and if you go to your school, ask your school teachers, instead of the boring poems, get these into your library, your school libraries. But yeah, thank you so much. We'll let you carry on with your wonderful Saturday. I hope you're feeling inspired. But yeah, bye everyone.
Cool. Bye guys.
Bye. Thank you all. Bye.
Cheers.